Today we'll be talking on a very pertinent topic called conflict resolution. Now there's a question which comes in our mind that what is the concept of conflict and how can we resolve it? So conflict can be defined in a very variety of ways. It's a battle or a war and is a situation of open and often lengthy fighting. And absolutely there is a discord between the incompatible or diagrammatically opposed people, ideas, interest and a clash. So overall we can say that conflict is a situation in which there is no consensus. There is a deadlock and often people have a situation of a discord which is definitely not compatible with the people at large. Whether we see the opposed ideas or the interest, there is a complete clash. Now let me give you the concept and the definition aspect of what is the concept of conflict. It is a state of conflict or a debate between the ideas, interest and other factors. It's a state of conflict between two opposing but irreconcilable desires or the urge which can rise to the emotional strain. Of course, when Mr. A says that this is the right way of doing a particular job or taking a decision, Mr. B says, no, this is not the way it should be. There is another way which he suggests. Similarly, there are about 10 people in a group and 10 people suggest the 10 different ways. Then what do? Then definitely there is a conflict of ideas, interest, decision-making strategies, and then starts a debate wherein each person will come out with its pros and cons of taking a particular decision in a particular way. But yes, this situation is a definitely very bad situation. It is not a reconcilable situation in which the irreconcilable desires are there, urges are there, which leads to the emotional strain of the persons. So definitely when you're working in a corporate and this situation occurs, then it is definitely a position of a problematic concept which needs to be taken up very diligently, pertinently, rationally, because it has a spillover impact on the output, production, mindset, motivational level, emotional aspects of each individual who is a part and parcel of that team, who is responsible to take a decision and who is a victim of a discord or irreconcilable desires and other urges of the mind. So, coming on to what is the concept of team conflict. As we working on a team, leadership, development aspects, so conflicts are bound to happen. Why? Because each one of us have our own life story. We have our own upbringing, we have our own lifestyle, we have our own intellect, we have our own desires, we see the perspectives in our own way. Each one of us have a different religion, we have a different childhood. So owing to which we have a different connotation to each situation, the different mindset for each situation, a different outlook, a different perspective, owing to which the conflicts are bound to occur. So conflict in the workplace, often known as a team conflict, is a breakdown of the interpersonal connections, and this occurs between two or more members of the group. So conflicts between the members of a team can occur when 1. There are two employees such as two salesperson, one team captain and another team member, such as a sales manager, a marketing manager, having an interpersonal conflict. So when a remote team has a group conflict with another project team, there are multiple teams involved, and when a team experiences an interpersonal dispute like this, it can have a detrimental influence on everyone's emotional health, as well as the results and the performance of the teamwork. So the performance of the organization and the progress towards the objectives. Employee conflict is unavoidable in any human relationship, and as a result, effective conflict resolution abilities are essential for leaders, and this will enable them to resolve a problem quickly and effectively when it arises. So the team conflict, what causes it? For a variety of causes, team conflict can emerge in a variety of settings. So let us look at 3 examples of a team conflict, and of course we will talk about their causes also. So let us do number 1. The first and the foremost cause is leadership goals and the expectations are out of sync. Leaders have varying personalities and may have varied expectations for the project objectives, and the project scope and the outcome should be ideally be agreed upon. However, this isn't always the case, and particularly in large, complicated and cross-functional projects. The leaders have a big influence on their team expectations, not just in terms of what they want to accomplish, but also in terms of how they want to accomplish it. And as each individual works to meet their leader's needs, this might produce a stress within the team. Coming on to the second cause, interorganizational workflows are incompatible. When the procedures or the interfaces across the enterprises are not streamlined, the large conflicts are common. Individual working on the project must deal with the internal misalignments as a result of this, and this of course slows down the development on the project actual deliverables. Such an incident might produce a stress and anxiety among the family members, resulting in conflict. The third major cause, the work styles and communication method differ from person to person. When individuals form a team, there will be obviously variances in their working styles, and there are also distinctions in the way they communicate and interact. There are diverse teams which provides greater results, and according to well-documented studies, even yet personality clashes might occur. Now let me just give you a concept of what is the workplace conflicts in context. The conflicts will develop when the firms continue to reconstruct the work teams, and when the individuals join together in the teams, their disparities in terms of the power, value system and attitude, they contribute immensely to the conflict. To count them, the first is unfair or uneven treatment. This can really lead to a conflict in a group and a team because the treatment which should be is not there. Everyone is treated unequally and an unfair and an unjust manner, which is the biggest cause of a conflict in a workplace. Secondly, there is an emotional abuse to an individual, which is again a big cause for a conflict at the workplace, followed by a discrimination practice. If there is a discrimination done to one individual to another individual, obviously this can lead to a situation of a workplace conflict, because the discrimination is something which is undesirable, unjust and uncalled for. Because if you do discrimination amongst the people, there is a feeling of, a very bad feeling which will emerge amongst the members of the group, and people would like not to be in that organization. They would like to leave that organization because it is a place of discrimination, unequal practices, unfair, unjust, treatment to the people, and the emotional abuse is, prevalent. So all these aspects are not welcomed at all in the workplaces and are the biggest causes for the workplace conflict. The next is your sexual harassment. If the people are feeling that they are being sexually harassed, that is one of the biggest conflict at the workplace. Nobody would like to stay there because your dignity, your respect is at bay, followed by angry and resistant persons. So if you're followed by the people who are always angry, resistant to change, so you are not welcome in that organization. So it creates an atmosphere which is unhealthy for the overall growth of the organization, and you would not like to stay there and would like to be a part of that organization, and you want to leave that organization forever. So this leads to a workplace conflicts. So, to name it a few, we have already talked about the unfair or unequal treatment which the people feel they are a victim to, followed by the emotional abuse, discriminatory practices which are prevalent in the organization, followed by the sexual harassment and angry and resistant people around. So all these things are not conducive and not welcome at all, conducive to the overall growth of the team and the overall development of that organization. The next factor is inability to say no, and feuding groups are some of the workplace conflicts that the managers and employees may face. Now sometimes the environment in flux, that is the changes, inability to request what one requires, organizational directions that are very unclear and imprecise in a culturally diverse environment workplace. So the physical characteristics, for example, the health and the safety issues. So what causes a team conflict? What are the deep root causes of a team conflict is a matter of concern and needs to be extraordinarily explained and deliberated here. The poor communication, a poor desire for the power, unhappiness with the management, weak leadership, lack of openness and a change in the leadership are the causes of conflict. This is as per NSBA 2007. So we will be talking on the various causes which leads to the team conflict. So the first is, conflict can have a multitude of causes, and knowing them is the first step towards a proper dealing with such issues. So the most typical cause of the conflict are as follows. To name it, the first is a perceived breach of the faith and the trust. The individuals have a perceived breakdown of the faith and the trust, and once faith and the trust in another is betrayed, it can trigger an emotional reaction that escalates to the conflict. The feeling of confidence and the security are endangered by a trustworthy connection. A betrayal of the trust elicits our most powerful emotions, which typically results in a confrontation. Then another cause which we talk about here is unresolved conflicts. The conflicts are inevitable in any type of organization. However, if they are left unresolved, it is going to continue to exist, and at least in the part. And when this dispute resurfaces due to a different circumstance, the suppressed emotion might erupt with a force, frequently significantly greater than those linked with the original conflict. As a result, it's crucial to resolve the conflict as soon as possible rather than allowing them to fester. The third is a miscommunication. One of the most important skill is perhaps the capacity to communicate. And when we use words to communicate, but they don't always are accurately reflecting the image that we have in our heads. And when this happens, the error frequently arises, and the result is a dissatisfaction. And neither individual is prepared to accept the responsibility for the blunder. It might lead to a conflict depending on a variety of conditions, that is such a stress level. So here we would like to elaborate this particular concept of miscommunication, that sometimes what we intend to speak, our words do not match our intent. So there is a difference between what we actually want to say to the people and what our words are saying and what we have in our heads, owing to which the errors are bound to occur and the conflicts are also bound to occur. So this is particularly the result under which the individual is not either prepared to take the responsibility for the blunder, and it might lead to a conflicting situation depending upon a variety of conditions. The result is, yes, stress, stress and stress. Now moving on to another factor, that is the personality clashes. Each of us is a unique individual. Our personalities, according to the experts, are genetically determined, resulting in a distinct set of favored behaviors. So, the following aspects we will be highlighting on this, and these inherent distinctions are some of our greatest assets as individual and teams, but they are also be a cause of main of the contention which will be highlighted. So we have a personality clash, we have a personality differences, owing to which different aspects are highlighted. By one who's docile, the personality is like a very simple connotation will come in light. The persons who are very aggressive will show their different light and different parts. So we have a cause of contention in this case, because the people are having their own personality with the different mindsets, of course, and they are favoring one set of behavior, the other is favoring another set of behavior, owing to which there is a problem and there is a contention in this regard. So let us now move on to the next factor owing to which the conflicts occur, like differences in the learned values. Our values are the beliefs that guide us in making a decision about what is right and what is wrong, what is good and what is terrible, what is normal and what is abnormal. So the parents, the siblings, the friends, the mentors, the coaches, instructors, the books, the movies, the television, the music and the life in general are all contributing to our value system. So since we have a different value system, so what is right and what is wrong will also be different. What is good and terrible will also be different. What is normal and what is abnormal will also have different connotations. So we are living in a family. So parents will give us a different value system. The siblings who are a part of our family, the friends which we make by choice, where we study, the higher education coaches, the mentors, the leaders will also give us something which are important takeaways and will contribute substantially to our value system. So all these things lead to the conflicting situation, because the learned values are different from one individual to another individual, and because no two people have the same life experiences, we each have our own set of value system and beliefs that influence our choices and actions. And as a result, in our lives and in our teams, the value systems are a powerful driver of our behavior and a very common source of the conflict. The next is the stress and tension beneath the surface. Our modern life impose great demands on our time and energy. However, these demands frequently outstrip our ability to meet them, and despite this, we go to work, try to operate normally with our co-workers. However, all too frequently, this underlying stress manifests itself at the smallest provocation, resulting in a conflict. So, the modern lifestyles what we are living, we have our own particular demands, we have our own lifestyle, we have our own time schedules, the energy levels are different. So sometimes the people give a lot of importance to the luxurious life, and some people are having an ability to outright this. So whatever lifestyle we are living, despite all this, we all go to work, we try and operate normally to whatever is happening in our personal lives with our co-workers. And of course, if all these things are moving on a very continuous basis, this underlies a stress and manifests itself in our smallest provocation. So, if you're not feeling good about a particular situation and somebody provokes you, so it is manifested in your behavior, in your lifestyle, in your, talking to your co-workers. So what is all this? This is what is called as a conflict. Another reason, let us talk about, is an ego issue. Ego is a powerful force of human behavior and, of course, a decision making. Ego wants us to be correct, so therefore it pushes the people to argue for their point of view, and sometimes irrationally. So admitting one's own mistakes is one of the quickest methods to end a disagreement or a conflict. And at the very least, get out of your own way and try to see the things from others' perspectives. That is, yes, it is an empathetic attitude. And the combination of preceding conflicts are rarely simple. Single source occurrences, and typically they are a combination of an aforesaid elements, and the conflict may arise as a result of misunderstanding. So all these aspects which we have discussed are the important sources of the team conflict. So let me give you a quick recap of what we have done as of now. The first and the foremost factor which was discussed was a perceived breach of faith and trust. So if the individuals have a perceived breakdown of the faith and trust, it leads to the emotional outbreak. And emotional outbreak which leads to conflicting situation. Followed by another factor which is called as an unresolved conflicts. The conflicts which are inevitable and which are unsolved, they are the biggest reason for erupting the conflicting situation in the organization. As a result, it's very crucial and critical to resolve such conflicts as soon as possible, rather than just allowing them to fester in the organization, which is fatal for the organization. And of course, the another factor which we discussed today was a miscommunication. Sometimes what you have in your head and what you speak with your words, they do not match. So try and solve this particular issue. There should not be any miscommunication of what you want to say and what your words are actually saying. It has a straight implication on the conflicting situation, followed by a personality clashes. Each one of us is unique, and our personalities are, according to our experts, are also very different. This is also conflicting, followed by differences in the learned values. Our values are, the beliefs that guide us to make decisions about what is right and what is wrong, what is good and what is terrible, what is normal and what is abnormal. So all these things are being reflected by the value system which we have earned as a as a child, as a youth, as a young man and as an old man. A man learns at every point of time. So whatever value system you have learned in your experiences of the life will reflect in your decision making and your ways of solving the conflicting situations in an organization. And since no two people are the same, their life experiences are different, their choices and action are different, which is definitely more conflicting. So another factor which is responsible for conflicting situation is a stress and tension beneath the surface. So our modern lifestyles is responsible for this particular conflicting situation. So the last and not the least, one of the important factor which is responsible for a conflicting situation in the contemporary organization is the ego issue. Ego is a powerful force of human behavior and the decision making. The ego wants us to be always correct, and therefore it pushes the people to argue for their point of view, and sometimes irrationally. Admitting one's mistake is one of the quickest method to end a disagreement or a conflict. So at the end, I would like to say that the conflicts are, rarely simple, and the single source occurrences. So typically they are a combination of many elements which we have already explained. It's not a single factor which is responsible for a conflicting situation. There are a number of factors which can play a major role in making a situation more conflicting. So we need to understand each and every factor, each and every person's perspective to make this conflicting situation and take the best out of it. Because conflicts are also to some extent good for the organization, but conflicts, if they are unresolved at any stage of time, is going to create a lot of problem.